Bad financial decisions. Let's talk about it.
A Blue Springs family is just days away from getting kicked out of their home.
Now, they've made all their payments on time, but are still facing foreclosure. New tonight, Sayed Shabir shows how this family got caught up in a messy mortgage.
Michael Nichols, his wife Erica Hodson, and their 2 daughters are finally enjoying a little family time after a year-long nightmare.
Every worst feeling a parent could have, just your house is going to be taken from you for no reason.
They purchased their Blue Springs home from their landlord, Kent Fritz of Cardinal Investments.
It kind of was odd. He knew everyone to send us to. He knew, hey, go to this person, they'll help you get the title. Go to this person, they'll help you get the credit.
Although leery, the first-time homebuyers went through with the deal. They made all their payments on time, but suddenly a notice of sale, saying the bank planned to auction off their home this Friday.
It was a sickening feeling in my stomach.
We followed the paper trail, and here's what happened. Michael Nichols took out a loan to buy the house from Kent Fritz, but the title company, which Fritz referred them to, missed the outstanding lien that Fritz had with Excel Bank. So the money from Nichols' loan went to Fritz when it should have gone to Excel Bank. And because Excel Bank was never paid, they threatened to foreclose on Nichols' home.
We sold our gold for cash. We went to pawn shops. We just got rid of all of our materialistic things to keep a roof over our children's head.
Eventually, they ran out of money and options. But the one thing that saved them was the $250 they spent on title insurance.
Since we purchased title insurance, that our title insurance company was going to step in and pay the lien off since they had missed the search that they were supposed to find.
It's the greatest feeling in my life. I mean, we get to keep our home. So we get to keep our home. That's all that really matters.
So whatever happened to the money that went to Kent Fritz instead of Excel Bank? Well, I went to Fritz's home today in Leawood. I also called him on the phone, but he never got back to me. But county records show he owns several other properties in the area. And the Jackson County Sheriff's Office tells me it has opened a fraud investigation to see if any other families might be in the same situation. Sayed Shabir, 41 Action News.
Thank God that family had title insurance. And for any of you out there who are maybe in the near future will be purchasing a home, please make sure you have title insurance in place so something like that doesn't happen. Title insurance is basically if the title company makes a mistake when they do their title work, they maybe miss a lien that was from a previous owner that is still attached to the house. That title insurance protects you from having to pay back that lien, even though that was something that you didn't do personally, but now as the homeowners of that asset, the home which that lien is tied to, you would have to pay that back. But with title insurance, you don't have to worry about that. Also, guys, if you don't know this, I'm a mortgage broker. And if there's one thing, one important aspect of buying a home is making sure that you have your financing in place and done the correct way. If you guys are looking to purchase a home in the near future, reach out to me and I would love to get you on that right path and doing it the right way, or setting you up to make sure you're able to get financing down the road. You can reach out to me through my email, jj@firstteammortgage.com.
5 worst financial decisions that I've made. Number 1, moving out of my parents' house to a very expensive area that I don't even like. Number 2, having a $780 car payment. What in the fuck? I do have reasoning. My last car, somebody crashed into me. I had gap insurance. I put a lot of money down on the car. After all that, I lost whatever money I put down onto the car. So it ticked me off and I was like, I'm putting no money down on this car and paying a lot monthly. Also, that car happens to be a coupe, which is a very compact vehicle if you didn't know. So that leads us into the next one. Number 3, buying a second car and it being a Mini Cooper, so it's like very small. I have 2 cars that I can't fit jack shit in. Number 4, letting a credit card add up and not having a job. So basically I was living at my parents' house, let my credit card add up, and it was only like a little bit because I was like 19, but it was still enough to where I had to get a job, and the first couple paychecks went straight to the credit card. Number 5, paying for college and basically just messing around and not doing jack shit. And meanwhile, I'm very dumb because I'm sitting there paying for it. Meanwhile, like, I'm not putting any effort into anything. That's all of them.
Hey, shout out to Homeboy here for keeping it honest. So this stuff right here, This is why I like to talk about these videos, right? You as the viewer may be watching that. You may have watched that clip, and some of those may have resonated with you. Some of those are maybe decisions you've made personally. That is why I like to make this content, is to share awareness of what bad financial decisions actually are, and to keep people from maybe getting themselves in bad financial decisions in the future. So in his video, in his clip, there was a lot of common mistakes people make when it comes to finances. Credit card debt, car loans, going to college and borrowing money to do so, and then jacking around and not even paying attention in school. All that stuff is honestly pretty common. But those pretty common bad financial decisions can set you back many years from getting ahead. So what I like to say to motivate people, especially you youngins out there who are just getting started in life, is if you can prevent yourself from making these types of decisions, that is going to put you leaps and bounds ahead financially of not only your peers, but also people well above your age. If you set yourself up right on the right foot, getting started in life, don't go buy and get car payments for brand new cars that none of us even need. Don't go into credit card debt. If you guys cannot pay your credit card off in full at the end of the month, you do not need to be using a credit card. Now, I am a fan of credit cards for people who can use them responsibly because they do help build credit for whenever you do go to purchase a home. But if you know yourself and you know you cannot spend wisely using that card and you're not able to pay it off at the end of the month, it is doing you no favors whatsoever keeping that card open. And lastly, guys, is really just keeping your eye on your finances. Keeping an eye on how much you're spending, where that money is going, and understanding where every dollar is, and give every dollar a job every single month. That way you have a hold on your finances. You can say how much is going into savings, how much is going into investments, how much is paying off debt, how much you need to have to pay for rent, groceries, school, whatever it may be. When you have a grip on your money and understanding where it's going, that is how you can get ahead very quickly.
One of the biggest financial mistakes that I made in my 20s. I do not want you to make this like me because I thought I was doing things right. No, I was doing things so wrong. There are people saying you want to have an emergency fund, you want to have savings. So I took that very literally. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have an emergency fund. I'm going to have savings. And I worked so hard. I worked so hard to save up all this money. And guess what I did? I just racked up debt while saving money. I had so much money on high interest credit cards, yet I had so much money in savings, and I was like, good job, you're crushing it. The correct order, I would say, that I have learned now is to, yes, have an emergency fund. That is still very important. Have something where if life throws something crazy your way, you have an emergency fund to fall back on. An emergency fund number is going to look different for everybody based on your expenses. But once you have that emergency fund, pay off your debt. Pay off your debt. Don't just keep racking up more debt while you keep saving more money, because what are you saving that money for? You need to be paying off your debt, because when you have so much debt, what you're doing, especially on high interest cards, is you're paying more money every single month because of the high interest. Well, I was out there thinking I was crushing the savings game. All I was doing was adding more debt to my name. That is something I wish I could take back. I wish I could go back into my 20s and not rack up so much debt while just having a savings account that I wasn't touching, that I was just looking at like, you're cute. Emergency fund, then pay off your debt, then start thinking about more savings.
Yo, she nailed it. And I'm so glad that I found this clip, because there's things like this that sometimes like you don't think about, right? Like, for example, one common mistake I hear all the time when it comes to a retirement account, such as your Roth IRA, is a lot of people think that they can put money into the Roth IRA, leave it at that, and then they just think it's being invested. Well, the problem with that is the Roth IRA is an investment vehicle. So once you put the money in your Roth IRA, then you have to choose an investment inside that vehicle to invest in. To where she was kind of doing the same thing. She's like, okay, hey, I'm saving money. Sweet, cool, I'm doing great. Look at my savings account. It's growing in value. But then while altogether, she's still racking up credit card debt and paying high interest on that debt. So what that's doing is that is defeating the purpose. Even if you have that cash sitting in a high yield savings account, right? You have to take the difference there. So let's say you got a high yield savings account. You're setting your cash in and it's getting 5% on all the cash you have in there. Cool. Sounds great, right? Awesome. Well, if you have your credit card debt, and your credit card debt, let's say on average is around 25%, you're still having to pay 20% on that interest. Let's say the 5% over here you're earning minus the 5% from that 25 that you have to pay out, that equals to be still 20% on interest, whatever you have in debt on your credit cards. So you're still losing money by choosing to save over pay off your debt. That's why I stress on this channel all the time, guys. Please, please, please do not carry high interest debt. And I always like to say, if there's anything out there that's about 6% or over, I consider that high interest debt. I consider getting rid of that, paying that stuff off as fast as possible, and just like she said, build up an initial emergency fund, say maybe a month's worth of saving or a month's worth of expenses. Once you have about a month's worth of expenses saved up, attack all of that debt as fast as you can. All of that high interest debt. Once that debt's gone, then work on building your emergency fund back up in place, because as we all know, things happen. Shit happens in life, guys. Car breaks down, you have a magic bill come in the mail, you're like, what the hell is this from? And you got to pay it. Having cash on the side, always ready to pull from in case you need it, is one of the best things you can do for yourself financially, as well as paying off high interest debt. If you do those two things alone, you're going to be doing just fine. And then you can start to teach yourself, okay, once you get a nice pile of cash, how do I start investing this money? And that stuff, you can learn and teach yourself along the way. One thing I like to say is just buy an index tracking ETF. I mean, you do that and you're set. VOO, VTI, and mix a little, international in there with VXUS. That's all you got to do. And just put it on repeat. Like, it's nice. Like, once you figure it out, and then you get, you do it a little bit, you get those kind of like first time jitters out of the way, and then you look back, you're like, that's it? That's all I got to do? Like, it's really, really not that hard. It's just so overwhelming when you first get into it. That's why it looks so scary when it comes to managing your money correctly. But you have to want it. Like, you do. You have to want it. You have to be able to sacrifice in order to get to that point. That's the hard part. And that's where a lot of people fail.
Bad financial decisions that I have made in the name of love. Almost 10 years ago, I was dating somebody who was a business owner, and he was somebody who I had known in high school. I kind of trusted him more than I should have. This man had maxed out all of his credit cards, both personal and business. And the business that he ran required him to buy supplies to do his job. One day we were walking around the Home Depot, and he's like, here's a list of all the things that I need. I'm gonna need to use your credit card. And what did I do? I was like, yes, sure, of course you can use my credit card, yes. I was like 25 at the time. I made about $50,000 a year. I did not have an emergency fund, and I literally lived paycheck to paycheck. But I was like, yes, here, swipe. We were at Home Depot with his dad, and his dad saw him use my credit card, and he goes, wow, you're getting indoctrinated pretty quickly, huh? And I was like, I was proud. I was proud of the fact that I was giving him my credit card for some reason. Now, months go by, and I'm starting to get stressed out because I'm like, yo, we need to pay off this credit card. It's literally hurting my credit. Let me give you a list of things that this man continued to buy while he owed me $7,000. But the thing that broke me, finally had me go, you know what? This isn't cool. I had ordered a Stitch Fix to our house. Mind you, we were living together at the time. He's like trying all the stuff on the Stitch Fix. And I just look at him and I'm like, maybe you shouldn't order a Stitch Fix when you owe me $7,000. And here's the best part. He gets mad at me and tells me that I'm being controlling. And I continue to date him for another 6 months. Yep. Now, he did pay me back. I will give him that. But I did not learn my lesson, and he owes me $50,000 to this day. But I'll share that in another story.
This is something that needs to be talked about, that's not talked about enough, and that I see a lot of younger individuals doing. Even sometimes older individuals who have recently separated from previous marriages and they start dating again. Ooh, this one's tough. Guys, when we're dating, like, yes, the men, you can, pay for the dates and, going out to eat. And sometimes, lady, you can reciprocate that as well. The men doesn't always have to pay every single time, especially if you've been dating for a bit. Like, if you're, first few dates, like, yeah, men should pay. But after that, like, ladies, you can pay it back every now and then. Like, let's go. Come on. But one of the most important things, ladies and gentlemen, to all my people out there who are in the dating scene is do not do this type of stuff. Yes, I know you're probably in love and you think you're going to get married, and hopefully you guys do. That'd be great. But do not start combining finances until you got a ring on that finger. Because once the ring is on the finger, yes, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours. You become one. That's when you start sharing finances. But until that day has come, we do not share finances. Now, if you guys are renting and living together and you want to split rents and utilities, that's fine. But when it comes to letting them use the credit card and, lending them $10,000 and doing this stuff. Like, that's not a smart move, guys. All that is a recipe for disaster. And when you start seeing things like that and you're just dating and you're already fighting about finances, that either needs to be, one, a major conversation you need to have with your significant other about what you expect those details to be like and what life will be like financially. Because if you're already having troubles now and you're not even married yet, wait till you add kids to the mix, you buy a home, you have more bills than you ever thought you ever had in your life before. And then the spending from that other spouse, the significant other, just continues to increase. And then you have to sit down and talk to them and say, hey, we need to maybe cool down on the spending. And then they throw it in your face and say, you're being controlling, doing this, like she was saying. It is very important to have these conversations before you make the commitment. See, my wife and I, when we would sit down and we knew we were, on the verge of getting married and we, talked about all this stuff. We sat down and we talked about, some of the most important things to us that we knew that needed to be figured out before we made that jump into commitment of becoming married. Kids, how we wanted to raise them, how we wanted to be as parents, how we wanted to discipline. 2 was religion, and I hate the word religion, but our faith. My wife was Catholic, I'm non-denominational, but we both love Jesus, and we knew we wanted to raise our kids in church to know Jesus and to know God. And that was very important to us. So we talked about how we were going to navigate the Catholic side versus the non-Catholic side. And then 3 was finances, was figuring out each other and our spending habits and what our goals and aspirations were in life. And luckily we were both pretty frugal couples, which helps out obviously. And we had all those conversations before we got married to help mitigate the turmoil and the fights that would come if we never talked about it before marriage. And I will say this, guys, having those talks up front, getting that stuff figured out has helped us so much tremendously throughout our marriage. Now, we've recently just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. Actually, right now, when you guys are watching this, I'm in Aruba with my kids and my wife, celebrating our 10-year anniversary and as a family together. But I will say I'm the luckiest man alive to have my wife and to be married to my wife for 10 years. And having those conversations up front are a big reason why we've been able to make it this long.
I haven't filed taxes since 2020.
What is the possible Why? Just why? I feel like you're collecting the stupid infinity stones of dumb.
So 2020 I filed and I got a return. 2021 I was gonna have to pay money and I didn't have the money.
How much?
$300.
Oh! Go on.
The next year comes around and it was a little more. It was like
How much?
$400 or $500.
Oh, for f***'s sake, you're ruining your life on $750 so far. What the f*** are you talking about? Go on.
2023. I would have gotten a return, a small one. But they ask for a PIN from your last year's taxes so you can file this year's now. And I didn't have that PIN, so I couldn't file it. So I have to do like by mail and figure that out.
With penalties and everything, you probably only owe $1,000. Why not just get this taken care of before they come after your fucking wages and garnish you? Hit you with penalties and interest. Why put yourself in such a risky position at such a young age for no reason?
Guys, if there's one thing that's certain in life, death and taxes. There's no way around it. As much as I hate paying taxes to the U.S. government, you gotta do it. You have to. And I also want to mention here to any of you crypto folk out there who have made a killing this year from your crypto investments, please don't try and hide that. Pay your taxes on the profits. Don't try and hide that because the U.S. government has 7 years from when you made profit to go back and look at who is trying to hide income from the U.S. government. Do not do that. Pay your taxes and don't worry about it. And if you don't know what you're doing when it comes to taxes, hire a CPA. It's worth the money just to make sure you're doing it correctly and pay your taxes, guys. There's no getting around it, unfortunately. You have to do it. But with that, I hope you guys enjoy these types of videos. I have so much fun making these, and I've been getting a lot of great comments from you guys saying that you are enjoying the videos, so I really do appreciate that. It does mean a lot to me. I appreciate each and every single one of you who comments on the videos, who reaches out through DMs or messages. It really does mean a lot to me.